Hello there, Taurus. Thank you for stopping by for your Tarot Weekly Forecast for the week of October 19th through the 25th. Let's put down some cards for you really quickly. So on Monday, the 19th, what you have coming up is you have the Nine of Swords. This just tells me, Taurus, that you have something that is bothering you or something that's heavy on your mind. And this something is probably interfering with you being able to do your normal daily actions and maybe interfering with your sleep. So this is a pretty big deal. The advice that comes through with this card is you really want to look at how much influence do you actually have over this situation. And if you don't have much influence over this situation, then maybe it's time to think about just letting it go and turning it over to God and just trusting that whatever happens works out for the best in the long run. That's really the best advice that I can give here. And the reason that that advice is always the advice that works is because when somebody has a situation like this where we worry over it, the only reason we're doing that is because we can't do anything about it. We don't have any control over it. So when we don't have control over it, we have to give it to somebody who has control and then just let things play out the way that they will. All right, so that's Monday. Tuesday, what we have showing up for you guys is the World card. I love the World card. This card really talks to me about no limitations. So on Tuesday, you really don't have any limitations. Now, the only limitations that we ever really have are those limitations that we create for ourselves in our minds. So when I see no limitations, this means that you're really breaking down some blockages, Taurus, on Tuesday, and you're taking away some of those limitations that you were putting on yourself before. So it's a really great card to have come in, and it just really does kind of take the lid off of the possibilities for you in a particular area of your life. On Wednesday, what we have coming up is the Hierophant. Doing something very traditional on Wednesday. This could be attending a First Communion or attending a wedding. This could be, I'm hearing something about court. This could be getting something finalized in court. So there are some things going on that have to do with old school traditions. I don't feel like this has to do with new traditions that you're beginning, although that can come up with this sometimes. I just don't get that feel today. But definitely having some reason to spend some time in a church or in a courthouse or something of that fashion where old traditions are normally carried on. So that's Wednesday for you, Taurus. And then Thursday, what we have coming up is we have the Knight of Swords in reverse. This is somebody that you're interacting with on Thursday, somebody that feels like they are standing up for their values and taking some action that they need to take in order to defend their values. However, when this person shows up, taking all this quick, speedy, drastic action, they didn't get the whole story. So they're only operating with part of the information, and later on they're going to regret taking this action. The best thing that you can do, because this person is so gung-ho on Thursday, I am not feeling like it's a good idea to try to explain to them that maybe they're not on the right track. The best thing that you can do is get out of the way. Stay as far away from this whole situation as you possibly can. Any involvement that you have with it now, before all the truth has come to light about it, is only going to be held against you later. So stay away. Stay away from that situation as much as you possibly can on Thursday. Now, on Friday, what we have coming up is we have the Devil card. The Devil card talks about facing some fears or facing some temptations. So there's going to be something that you come into contact with as far as a fear or a temptation that is not your normal everyday experience on Friday. So facing some fears can be something like getting a phone call from your school that says, and this is totally just an example, this isn't anything I'm picking up for any particular person, but this is an example, getting a phone call from your school that says, your child has just been rushed to the hospital and we're not sure what's wrong. Now, obviously, the first thing that's going to rush through your mind is the worst thing for most of us, like, oh my God, what happened to my kid? And then after you get to the hospital, say that you find out that, maybe the child fell down on the playground and there was a little bit of some kind of rusty thing that they grabbed as they were falling to try to catch themselves, and so he needed a tetanus shot. He or she needed a tetanus shot. Obviously not a life-endangering thing, but when you get a phone call like came in from the school, you don't know. So you're facing those fears of, okay, what if, the whole way that you're driving to the hospital. So this is kind of what the Devil card talks about. It talks about facing some fears. It talks about generally we get some kind of news that we realize, this is not what we want to hear now. How are we going to handle it? Or, and the news could be completely factual, or it could be, full of holes, but it still makes us look at those fears and face those fears. So facing fears definitely on Friday. For some of you, this is about facing temptation. So an example of that would be, say that you have been not drinking for years and years and years, and you have an old friend that comes by that used to be such a dear friend, and when this person comes by, they've got you guys' favorite drink with them. For some reason, I'm getting a vision of in the back of their truck. So I'm sure that applies to somebody specific out there. But anyway, they are bringing back some kind of remembrance, and they're making it very easy to go back to the way things used to be when you hung out with them, and maybe the exact drink that you guys used to drink together when you talked and you had so many good times together. And so there's that temptation. So that's just an example of how a temptation could come back in, or how a temptation could come in. So, you're facing that. Now, this card really doesn't tell me how you face that, if you're successful in facing that, or if you're like, oh, well, what the heck, one won't hurt. Which, if you've been to any AA meetings at all, one won't hurt is not the answer. But anyway, I do see you either facing some fears or facing some temptations coming in on Friday. So now I'm going to quit meandering around that card, and we're going to move on to Saturday. Saturday, what we have coming up for you, Taurus, is the Six of Swords in reverse. And the Six of Swords in reverse is telling me that you have a lifestyle change coming in. Now, this could be a direct result of facing some fears. I can see these two cards going together very easily in a situation where somebody goes to the doctor and the doctor says, if you don't stop smoking, you're going to end up with COPD, and that leads to whatever it leads to, asthma, pneumonia, death, eventually, I don't know. But anyway, I can see where the doctor might give somebody some ideas about where their health is going if they don't change some things, and that would be definitely a point of facing some fears, and that might be something that would make you change your lifestyle. So Saturday, what I do see coming in is a change of lifestyle, Taurus. Whenever I see change of lifestyle, let me define that for you. This is changing something about your life in a permanent fashion to improve either your length of life or your quality of life, or both. So this is going to be something that makes you healthier, that makes you live longer. It's going to be something that adds to your lifespan. So this can be anything from eating healthier, exercising more, no more street drugs, no more smoking, whatever. All kinds of things that we can do to improve our health. So lifestyle change, making yourself healthier, coming in on Saturday. Sunday, we have the Hermit card in reverse. Now, the Hermit card in reverse almost really tells me a story about your day on Sunday. And this tells me you're going to be spending a lot of time alone on Sunday. And by the end of the day, you are going to be tired of being alone. You're going to be wanting to be social. So by the end of Sunday, I do feel like you're going to be getting away from just yourself and going out and doing something with other people, or having other people come in. But I do see you ending the day in some kind of social way after a long, quiet day of introspection for yourself. So Taurus, that is your week. For those of you who stopped by, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I guess if you're hearing it, you stopped by, so thank you. I want to thank everybody also who has been so faithfully watching my daily videos, who has booked readings with me, everybody who has been liking, sharing, and subscribing my channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. I appreciate it so much. Everyone have a fantastic week. I'll see you back here next week. Peace out.